So hey guys, welcome to another video, and this could be considered a 40k special. So last week we hit 40,000 subscribers and I'm incredibly thankful to all of you. You are absolutely amazing. You just made my life so much better. It's incredible. Thank you so very much. Now, there were two suggestions that were somewhat popular with you guys. The first one was a giveaway stream, which I already kind of did. I want to do more giveaway streams, but my internet right now is really bad, so I can't do that. And the second one was Draw My Life. Now, I'm not very good at drawing, first of all, and I also don't have a good way of sort of capturing any sort of drawing. So I thought I would just talk about myself a little bit so you get to know me a little more, so you know who you're dealing with. So, my name is Lucas, I am 26 years old, and I live in Czech Republic. I was introduced to video games at a very early age by my father. He was big into computers, he's an IT engineer, and he just loves this kind of stuff. So from very early age, I was playing games like Doom, Blackstone, Duke Nukem, Shadow Warrior, the Tomb Raider series, and stuff like that. My father also introduced me to heavy metal. He's a big fan of bands like Metallica, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and bands like that. And both of those things stuck with me. I still love playing video games, and I love listening to metal. When I was about 8 or 9 years old, my father found this old neck and body of a guitar in the attic and put them together, put on some strings, and I just started playing and I enjoyed it a lot. And when I was 10 years old, my parents got me a real electric guitar. It was an Ibanez guitar and I still have it right next to me over here. I mean, I've had this thing for 16 years now. I grew up in a small village that's surrounded by vast forests and fields, so lots of my childhood was spent just exploring the fields and the forests with my friends. My childhood overall was really good. I can't remember any bad things happening when I was young. And as the times moved on, everything was fine, and then my parents got me a PlayStation 1, which is the only console that I ever owned. Well, aside from a Game Boy, if you consider that a handheld console. And one of the games they got me with it was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, and that got me and loads of my friends into skateboarding, and it was loads of fun. We bought skateboards, and we were really bad at it. We were just rolling around, trying to ollie on a curb, then off a curb, try a couple of shove-its, maybe a kickflip here and there, and that was it. Now, when we got more confident on the skateboard, perhaps overconfident in my case, we had the brilliant idea to take 2 twigs and put them on the ground, creating a gap and then jump over the gap. And when the gap became too big, we decided that we're gonna roll down a hill, then turn and jump over the gap between the twigs. So I walked up the hill, rolled down, jumped the gap, and as I was celebrating with my hands in the air, I got stuck on a pebble and went flying forward. Now, this was the most amazing thing that ever happened to me, because in these couple of seconds where I was flying through the air, I realized that my head is heading straight for the asphalt road. And I knew that if I hit my head going this fast, that's gonna be it. So I managed to put my left arm over my head, and as I crashed into the ground, I heard a crack. And when I got back up, I realized that my left arm was just hanging there. At first I thought I just dislocated my shoulder because I had no idea what had happened, and I was in shock. It didn't hurt me. So my friends were like, oh yeah, stop being a wuss and just keep on. And I was like, no guys, I don't think I can do this. So I went home, and as I was walking through the yard, I was like, Mom, I think I dislocated my shoulder. She had this horrified look on her face, because at that time I didn't know that when I was standing straight, my left shoulder was, well, kind of not there. And as I was standing straight and I hit my hands parallel to my body, and my left arm was about 10 centimeters lower than my right arm, and it looked absolutely terrifying. So my parents took me to the hospital. I got an x-ray, and this was back when you got an x-ray, you would get a file, and you would bring the file with the x-ray inside to the doctor. So we checked it out, and we realized that I snapped my collarbone in half, so they had to fix that. And I was home for about 6 weeks, and then I started going back to school, and overall everything was fine. But that was the end of skateboarding for me, because skateboarding is mostly a mental battle. You can train your legs to do the right things, and you will just learn the tricks through muscle memory, but convincing yourself to jump on an unstable object with both feet, especially after you got hurt so badly, is really hard. Your brain just gonna be like, nope, and you're gonna step off the skateboard rather than land on it. And I was never really able to get over that. So anytime I'm on a skateboard, I can do kickflips, I can do shove-its, but one foot will always step off, and I cannot land anything nowadays. And the funniest thing about this was that my friend broke his wrist about 2 weeks after that, and I was with him, and I was still, fixed up in this stupid thing that was supposed to prevent me from moving too much, and I went to the hospital with him, and the same doctor opened the door, and he's sitting there holding a skateboard with purple wrist, and I'm sitting there, and the doctor just starts laughing. He's like, "Did you sell him the skateboard?" And we just burst out laughing. But he broke his wrist and he stopped skating as well, so we had to come up with something new, and we come up with a metal band. Yes, we started a metal band that never got anywhere, but it was a loads of fun. We recorded a couple of songs which were terrible. Garage quality is not the best thing for metal and metalcore and stuff like that, but it was loads of fun. But it died down eventually as well. And this was around the time where you choose your profession, right? You choose the school you want to go to, and I chose to be a chef. So I went to culinary school, and I'm officially a chef and a waiter because these two professions were bundled together. I never wanted to be a waiter, but this was the only way to become a chef, and at the end of the day, it's kind of nice to have a waiter's perspective on the business as well. And I finished the school successfully, which was awesome. However, when I started working, I got jobs that were just like, okay, you have these recipes, you're gonna cook them over and over and over and over again. And that was not my kind of thing, because I would learn these couple of recipes and then I would repeat them over and over and over and over again, and I would get incredibly bored. So for a while, I stopped being a chef and I started working in warehouses, where I would work with forklifts and stuff like that. And while it was more, fun than being a chef and doing the same recipe over and over and over again, eventually I would learn everything that I could in this profession and I would get bored again. And that is one thing that reemerged with every job up until I started doing YouTube. I would get a job, I would be excited about that job, I would learn everything, but once the new stuff ran out and it was just the same old, I would get incredibly bored and frustrated. And then I released my first YouTube video. So the first video that I did was a guide for World of Warcraft for a balance druid, because I was just surfing the internet trying to find a good guide for a balance druid and I couldn't find one. So I decided to do all the research myself, but when I did all the research myself and I kinda tweaked my character and learned everything, I was like, well, why not make a video? I already did the research, so I can just share it with people and it's gonna be fine. And to my surprise, the video was fairly well received. People kind of liked it. And at that point, I realized that I could do more videos because there is just so much stuff to make videos about. And on top of that, no matter what I do, no matter how many things I learn and how many videos I make, there is always going to be something new for me that's going to keep me interested. So for a couple of years, I was just making random videos that weren't getting any views, and it kind of started to feel a little bit pointless. But then one day, when I was on TeamSpeak, a couple of my guildmates from World of Warcraft were talking about Warframe. And I was like, ooh, I've been playing Warframe for a couple of years now. We could play together. So we got into a clan, we started playing together, and eventually I started making Warframe videos. And it should come as no surprise that the videos were getting no views at all. But as I was doing more and more of them and I started doing the resource farming guides, out of nowhere, the views just slowly rolled in over a couple of weeks. However, I couldn't really do anything about it because at the same time, my grandfather had a stroke, which sent him to a hospital. Then he had another stroke, and then he had a stroke and a heart attack, which left him in a pretty bad state. At this point, I couldn't really do videos because I would be at work, I would come home, and then I would go to a hospital to see him because my grandmother would go there every day and she would be exhausted, so we would switch. She would go there one day, I would go the other. And as I've said, he was in a pretty bad state. He could barely move his left arm and his left leg, so he couldn't walk, he couldn't do anything. And there were times where we would be leaving the hospital and we were almost sure that he's not going to survive the night. But he fought through it, he got a bypass, and while he still can barely just move his fingers on his left arm, he can walk and he is somewhat fine, although my grandmother has to take care of him. So when he got the bypass and he got better, I started doing more videos because they were getting more views, and at that time I've already quit World of Warcraft and I was focusing on Warframe, and my subscriber count also started to go up like crazy. And that was the time where I decided that I'm gonna release one video every day. Instead of just releasing video whenever I felt like it, I would come home from work, I would work on videos, and then I would make the video, and every day they would get slightly more views and I would get more and more subscribers. But then it almost all fell apart exactly 1 year and 1 day ago. I was sitting here, it was about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and I received a message from my sister. And this message was the most soul-crushing thing that I've ever read. Because she just told me that my best friend died in a motorcycle accident. And at first I didn't believe it, so I went onto Facebook and I started asking people, but then I checked out his Facebook page and there it was. The article on how he died. He was riding his motorcycle on a slippery road. He underestimated a right-hand turn and his motorcycle slipped. He hit the side barrier and the motorcycle crushed him against the barrier and he died. And just like that, my best friend that I've known for 20 plus years was gone. And for about an hour or two, I didn't know what to do. I was confused, I was walking around, I was crying, and I just had no idea what to do at this point. But after a while, when I've calmed down a little bit, I realized that the worst thing to do is to just aimlessly walk around and keep thinking about it. So instead of just aimlessly wandering around, I went back home, I sat down, I finished the video, and that was the day. And if you go back and watch some of my older YouTube videos from about a year ago, you can tell that I just don't sound very happy. And that's because I was working on these videos to kind of get away from the fact that my best friend is dead. And from that point onwards, I just let YouTube consume all my time because it let me forget about him. But I think it worked out well for me because I was able to deal with it while constantly being distracted with YouTube, so I didn't think about it too much. And now YouTube is my full-time job. I love it, and even my family now understands that I am not a madman that left his job to play video games at home. They actually know how it works, and they are very supportive, so awesome stuff. And I think I'll leave it at this. That's enough for today. I've been rambling for a very long time. So as always, I thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.